So, I have some time to kill, and I thought that a little bit of reflection about what we've... Sorry about the shaky camera. I'm sorry, and my arm there. I'm tripodless right now and using my hand, and sometimes it can be a little rough on my left one. So, just switched. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit more here. All right. So I'm sitting on the beach here in St. Petersburg, and you know, in the last 2 years, and before, but really intensely in the last 2 years, we've seen a massive explosion of censorship. My mother used to always say that there's nothing worse than censorship. And coming from a woman who lost her father in the gulag, not just any gulag, but also Pest prison, you know, that says a lot. And I never really understood why she said that until, well, the last 2 years. You know, the Chinese have a phrase, which is killing the chicken to scare the monkey. What that means is you do something to someone not because they're really worthy of the punishment, but it's in order to scare other people into doing what they did or what you think they did. See, that's the thing with censorship, if you've noticed. You don't really know what you did or what to do to how to avoid it. And see, that's the key. The key is, the point of censoring is not necessarily to punish or to teach or, you know, as most laws or, you know, as our criminal system is even supposed to be, to rehabilitate or to change a pattern of behavior, right? It's just to put you into a state of submission. And then you start to self-censor. And now we are a creature of language. Language and ideas and thoughts are what allow us to develop new ideas, new thoughts, new innovations. I mean, this is a reason why a society like China is not very good at creative enterprise, creative art. You know, there are some wonderful artists in China, but overall, the society is not conducive toward that. The fact that we're sort of in that trajectory is another issue that I think is worth discussing. But right now, what I want to talk about is, I think it's safe to say that the use of censorship and the intensity of its use in the last 2 years and everything that that means has proven deadly. And I don't mean that hyperbolically. And that's just one thing it's done. It's ruined lives. Now, I may be sitting on this beautiful beach in St. Petersburg, Florida, and you may think, Ooana, what right do you have to talk about lives being ruined or life ruined? Well, I'm heartbroken by what's happened. I'm heartbroken and angered by the fact that we were right. But it doesn't change what's happened. But we can change what happens next, and we can change what could happen, right? But if we don't change, and I don't mean bullshit like be the change you want to see or make change. I mean, if we don't change our expectations, change our demands, change what we are willing to submit to and compromise on, you see, these lies of the last 2 years, this wasn't the first time. These things escalate. In 2010, the European Union had a commission that investigated what was done with the swine flu. And they determined that there was a pyramid of corruption. And they found that there was fraud and corruption that was between media, academia, and science. Or rather, let me read it. Media, academia, and pharma. Right now, as we know what has been discovered and stated at the EU regarding the speed of science, CDC is still announcing recommendations for young people, babies, children, what have you. If Governor Hochul wins in New York, she's already promised to mandate vaccinations for attendance to school. Now, I may be in Florida, but I'm doing an absentee ballot, and I'm voting against Hochul, and I'm voting for Lee Zeldin. Because the question is simple: tyranny versus freedom. That's really the only question that matters to me these days. And while those are big issues, I am heartbroken that we've reduced ourselves to that. That has to be the question. Because there are other things that matter to me a lot too, that unfortunately right now we don't have the luxury to think about. Now, we can't control whether or not anybody's held accountable for the last 2 years, and I think that having that be the only thing that will allow us to make sure this never happens again is foolish. It's already happening again. And already I can't talk about a lot of the stuff without being censored. YouTube recently censored me for something that they had already censored me a little bit for before. I had posted a video with an introduction that was testimony out of a state assembly in Tennessee. Doctors were testifying. And I was told that sharing Tennessee Senate testimony was misinformation. Medical misinformation, because it was not in keeping with the WHO. So let me get this straight. I live in America, and I have to comply with the opinion of a private entity, unelected, completely unrelated to anything that has to do with our country or my Constitution, that is run by a Maoist. I'll add. Yeah, the head of the WHO is a Maoist. See what I'm saying? So, when the WHO is saying things like, there is no vaccination for climate change, or when we're being told that the only villainous party in the Ukraine is Russia. And when we were watching as this slow car crash, that at the best scenario, people in Europe are going to be very cold. But no one cares about that winter of death. But just a few months ago, I, as somebody who couldn't get the vaccine, was being told that not only was I going to kill others, I was going to be dead, basically. I mean, not bad as far as purgatory goes, I guess. But I'm very much alive, and my livelihood is gone. My loved ones are nowhere near me. And I miss 2019. So I guess I'm making this video to ask a question I asked in May 2020. A question I asked just 3 days before George Floyd. A question which I'm going to ask again. What future do we want? Do we want a future void of creativity, liberty, in this endless cycle of supposed liberation, which first requires enslavement. And I will say what many people, my mother included, but anyone who's lived under these kinds of governments, a tyrannical, totalitarian one, which I'm sad to say, I think we've gotten past totalitarian creep and we now are blanketed in it. We want a world void and gray and full of fear. A void where everyone is free to choose slavery. A world where people who have no interest in you, much less ever met you, determine what kind of human being you are and whether or not you are a worthless eater or worth their time, or if you are worth more than your carbon footprint. Now, I'll say that I've been called a parasite. I'm seeing bigotry ramp up in other ways too. The stupidity of it, the ignorance and idiocy of identity politics, which does more than lose our identities. It dehumanizes us. It reduces us to our immutable characteristics. And we're seeing it now being used and weaponized again. And I don't just mean with what Kanye says. I mean by the response to Kanye. And I'm a Jew. Censorship is the worst thing. As Americans, we once knew this. Remember one thing, please, too. We were not a country that was created on this principle or these ideas of trusting our government or even needing our government to lead the way. What makes America remarkable in all the world was that we were a nation founded on the one unique idea that we don't trust government, we trust our principles. Our principles carry us. My mother used to say that America is always in a constant state of revolution. And by revolution, she doesn't mean it the way the Marxists do. She means it in a way that says we can always change trajectory, so long as we are standing firm on a foundation of our principles. Party and partisanship is poison. George Washington warned us of this, and he wasn't the first. I think, to begin with, one of the first things maybe we can all do to change the trajectory we're on is a little Emersonian self-reliance. Trust thyself. Trust thyself. Conformity, it's the hobgoblin of little minds, adored by statesmen, philosophers, and divines. Trust thyself. Trust thyself. It's a lot more important than being told that your truth matters, because, listen, I don't need anybody to tell me that. Do you? I also don't need anybody, anyone, to stand up for me, for being a woman, for being a Jew, for being an American, for being a New Yorker, for being straight, for being whatever, for being single, for being childless, any of the things that make up some of the boxes that I tick, for being in my 40s. I don't need anyone to stand up for me at the expense of my liberty. We deserve better. We, the people, deserve better. I tweeted recently something else regarding my reaction also to the recent documentary about BLM. As I said, I asked the question in May of 2020, what future do you want? Then George Floyd happened, and all I said after that was, damn it. And it wasn't just damn it because of the death of Floyd. I said damn it because I could see very quickly how That tragedy was being weaponized and recreated and remolded to be used against we the people. This has happened a lot lately in the name of saving our democracy, which I remind you, we're not one. In fact, our principles are founded on the idea that pure democracy isn't moral. Pure democracy leads to tyranny. We're a constitutional republic. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Because when they say saving our democracy, what they mean is saving their power. Sure do love power, don't they? Rest in power. No. I am not, and none of us are theirs to sacrifice for their revolution. Ours would be and is founded on one simple idea. We were born free. We don't need liberation. We just need liberty. And all liberty is the space created around our natural God-given state. Censorship, no matter what excuses you make for it, no matter how much more it might make you more comfortable, our country over the last 200 some years has figured out, and if you read the dissents from our Supreme Courts, if you read our founding documents, if you read our Federalist Papers, if you read things other than what some people who have a really shitty track record when it comes to actual freedom, prosperity, happiness, and empowerment say. Because they want power and they don't enjoy or delight in things like choice, real choice. Censorship destroys all of that. It's not enough just to boycott something. What we all have to do, according to people like Václav Havel and Matthias Nesmet and everyone else who talks about totalitarianism, keep speaking out and be there for each other. Give each other a soft place to fall. If we get censored, don't belittle it. If somebody gets pushed out of the society in any way, don't treat them like it's nothing. It's not nothing. Take it from people who's seen it. I once said, I saw it in Romania, now I've seen it here. And if anyone here thinks that it can't happen here, even in the free state of Florida, you're already closer to it happening. Keep speaking. And don't let the bastards get away with it. Never forget. Never again. Always remember and compare. The supreme trick of mass insanity, said Eugene Ionescu, is that it persuades you that the only abnormal person is the one who refuses to join in the madness of others, the one who tries vainly to resist. We will never understand totalitarianism if we do not understand that people rarely have the strength to be uncommon. Help each other be strong. Help yourself be strong. Fake it till you make it if you have to. Don't be a monkey or a chicken. Peace.